Welcome everyone to the Show Studio live panels. As you all know, this is where the experts from around the industry come together to discuss the most important Fashion Week shows. And today we're starting with Saul Nash, who started London Fashion Week yesterday. And I'm very excited because I have some mega dance and perform experts with me. My name is Aya, and I'll allow them to introduce themselves. Benjamin?
Hi, I'm Benjamin Milan. I'm a choreographer and movement director based in London.
Chance?
Hello, my name is Chancellor Warhol. I am LA based and I'm currently in London and I'm a director photographer.
And Kea?
Hi guys, I'm Kanah Flex. I'm a choreographer and movement artist based in London.
And that's exactly why I'm so excited, because Saul Nash has an important background in dance, performance, choreography, and it's something he always brings to his work. So that's also going to be my first question to the panelists today is, as a dancer or performer, what is your relationship to fashion? And then how does it make you appreciate Saul Nash's work? Benjamin, I'll start with you.
I've always been interested in visual communication and just visual expression and language. And I feel like, movement and movement of clothing and how we express ourselves is all interconnected. And it's really beautiful how these worlds are emerging and how I think there's an appreciation within the dance world and a growing appreciation that lasts. And there's always been an appreciation for movement, but I feel like with movement directors and with like Saul Nash, for example, it's really nice how the fashion industry is embracing choreographers and movement and how that can elevate the clothing as well. So yeah, and I think, what was the second part of the question, sorry?
No, I'm going to pick in straight away on what you said, Benjamin, because I think it's really interesting how you mentioned the importance of movement, which I'll be honest, in fashion gets often forgotten. We can be very static. You know, we work a lot with still images. Fashion museums show clothes on dolls. And I think sometimes even fashion designers forget that we're supposed to move inside clothes. And it's such an important aspect of design. Before I start rambling about this, I do want to talk to Chance as well. What's your first appreciation of Saul as somebody who also has a dance and performance background?
Well, I think it's incredible because I was raised on American Bandstand and like Soul Train, where it's like together. And I think that as recently that kind of fell to the wayside. So it's great to see like people like this bring fashion and dance back together, because I think it's a beautiful art. So yeah, it's beautiful to see.
Yeah. Kay, you agree with that?
Yeah, no, I definitely agree with that. I feel like, obviously meeting Saul Nash at like dance nightclub, Madam Jojo's, that was like based in London Soho, and like seeing like him coming from there and like to see where he's at now, and also the respect that he still has for dancers, and also like just bringing them his dances along with him and part of his journey is like a beautiful thing to see also.
Yeah, this is such an important point you make, is that the dance for Saul isn't just a little add-on, like a gimmick. Mm-hmm. It's really integrated into his work, into his approach, and how he sees his clients as well.
100%.
Yeah. And I'm immediately thinking back of Saul Nash's graduate show, which must have been in 2017, I might be mistaken, at the Royal College of Art. And we were walking around the space and you just immediately saw these boys dancing and having fun, and it felt like so much energy. It really attracted you. And then also when I was talking to Saul, immediately some of the boys would come up and start joining the conversation and being really open and like inviting me to dance. And it made me think that sometimes the best way to break some of the fashion rules is to invite people who don't know that the rules exist, you know, who don't care. I see you nodding, Kea, you agree. Yeah. You know, yeah. And fashion can be, again, a very stiff and formulaic environment. So bringing these boys in breaks a lot of that.
Yeah, that's the beauty of dance, is the freedom of it. So it's really good to see that come to this format of where fashion, like you said, is very structured at times. So it's good to see someone come from that background, because dance is something that, you know, I first grew up on, and as well as hip hop. And yeah, and it's good to see it in cinema as well. You got all these movies like Climax and stuff like that, so pushing dance to the forefront. So yeah, I'm excited to see what's next from Saul.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you agree with that, Benjamin? This freedom, is it something you recognize as well, that an openness?
Yeah, I think Saul takes inspiration being like a freestyle expert that he is in both hip hop and voguing and different styles, which is a lot based on self-expression and just being in the moment and finding creativity in the moment to be able to move freely. I think you can see that in the clothing as well, because it allows for a lot of movement, like what he does. And you can see that, yeah, his clothes really works in stills and in moving image. And I would imagine it's quite functional to move in as well, that you can really go in all different positions and not feel limited. So yeah, and it's also for the way that I feel like the clothing also feels very personal. You know, like a lot of these styles, they come from a very genuine place of people's experience, people's lived experience, and a lot of that is like I don't know how to say it, but from a more position of needing to just self-express. And I think through these clothes, you can feel that as well, that it's coming from a very like genuine and real place, that it can work. These clothes are not just for a specific environment. I think they would work pretty much everywhere and still look good, and still, if you want to move, they would really come with you.
This is a really good point to make, you know, not only through words, but also in how you were expressing it. It's like all the clothes are modular, and they're made to be able to adapt, to zip open if it gets too hot. But then they also have this sleekness and sophistication. It means you can wear it outside the studio and easily move around different spaces, right? But I am very curious to hear from you guys how important this more luxury aspect is when it comes to sportswear. Benjamin, you mentioned that it helps moving freely through different spaces, because the image I have from dancers, which comes from Brussels, which is a contemporary dance scene, very different. It's really, you have to look as if you don't care at all. You have to wear a t-shirt that looks as if you found it on the floor. You have to wear denim that's completely faded. So the look is very much about anti-fashion. So I wonder in London if it might be different, if there might more be a sense of like interest in design and showing different brands in your personal experience. If anyone wants to start? Chance me?
Well, I wanted to speak to the point of like the luxury side of it, because being in LA is a huge dance culture, but you don't associate high fashion with that. Nobody really they dress more for function than they do to like make a statement. So that's why I'm even more invested in Saul's work, because I'm like, oh wow, this looks like high fashion. I could rock this out a night out, and it looked great. And then the fact that it's functional to where you won't be too hot when you're dancing or moving around, or you know, even in LA, the weather, you know, it's usually like warm. So I would rock this in a heartbeat. It's very fascinating to see. So
yeah,
and the material looks very luxurious. So yeah.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yeah. So for you, it is an add-on that it shows. It definitely shows that it's high quality. It's designer. There's a certain sophistication to it.
I want to put a lot of dancers on to Saul so that they could be more fashionable. So just being honest, that's how I feel about this. I think this is a great vision for a great art form that's been around for a long time, and to mix the two, I think it can be incredible.
Mhm. This is a good point, or interesting that you mentioned. I want to dress as many dancers as I can in Saul. Do you think, as a dancer or an aspiring performer, the way you dress can impact how you do at an audition or how people perceive your work? Do you think this is something dancers could or should pay more attention to?
100.
Look good, feel good, you know?
Mm,
Yeah,
yeah,
totally agree.
yeah. The others do too.
Yeah, no, 100%. It's like what Chance was saying, like look good, feel good. I do feel like dancers should be more aware of like what they're wearing going to audition, like be more presentable and like just keeping it simple as well. So I feel like Saul Nash's collection is very like simple but effective at the same time. You know what I'm saying? It's not too much in your face, but like you see it, like if you see it down the road, like you know it's Saul Nash. You know what I'm saying? So, but it's very distinctive and effective, and I feel like that's a true representation of Saul Nash's dancing as well. Like if I saw Saul Nash like dancing in a silhouette, like I know that's him. You know what I'm saying? And if I see like a tracksuit from like down the road, I'm like, oh wow, that's Saul Nash. Like Saul Nash's you know what I'm saying, collection. So I feel like it's a true representation of his dancing as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I like what you're saying about, you know, how at the end of the day, it's about attracting people, bringing people into your world. And this is such an important aspect of fashion. And I think it's often frowned upon a little bit or seen as something negative to want attention, right? Then you're a bit pretentious or arrogant, but it's also a really beautiful way of saying, hey, I invite you. Hey, I want you to join me. And I think Saul's work has potential to do that. But, oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just agreeing with you.
And also, I'll say to the point, what I really appreciate about Saul is like when somebody kind of gives back to their culture in a sense, it's like, oh, like I see kind of what's missing and what I like, but at the same time, like I want to share this with people that have the same passion about what I do. I think that's incredible, and a lot of people don't, because you spoke to like the without being arrogant thing, and I think it's like it's cool when you can be confident enough to like share it back, give it back. And that's when it like the line, that's the fine line he's walking, and it's great to see that he's like sharing it with other people.
Yeah, this community aspect of his work, right? I think unless you want to say something, Benjamin, before I move on, but
no, I mean, maybe just going back to what you said about Brussels, I thought was quite interesting, because I think Saul's work also speaks on the evolution of the appreciation of the different styles of dancers that we have. I think contemporary dance, which has a huge rich history in Belgium. It's interesting to see, like because I feel like Saul's work also feels very London. It feels very truth and honest to, I think, his experience growing up here. And in the dance world now, me and Kanah can also relate, you know, as freestylers, it's like the last 5-10 years has been an appreciation for individuals, also from the fashion industry, that they're more sort of aware of what's happening in the dance world, and taking people who maybe are unapologetic about the way they're expressing themselves, also through movement as well as presentation through the clothing, which is great to see. And yeah, it's just really, I think London is cool because it's not scared of people who, like you say, are not scared to just be loud and be themselves, but they're also sort of embracing other people around them to be just your authentic true self, whatever that is.
Yeah, that is a good point. It's a full package. It's his entire identity that he brings on so many levels. I think in this collection as well, it was inspired by his high school years and what he wore in high school uniforms, and how you can twist them, subvert them as a kid by adding different layers. I forgot what I was going to say. There's so much going on. Let's move to the branding of Saul. What he added this season were really recognizable slogans and logos. And I saw a few platforms who didn't really understand that decision because they found it maybe a bit too direct, or maybe he was a bit too young to add big slogans. So I also wanted to hear your opinion on this. Is this something you're attracted to? Do you like wearing logos and brands? Is that why you pick them when you choose clothes, or do you prefer to keep something more neutral?
I'm 50-50. It depends on the logo and what's the meaning, not meaning behind it, but like the whole branding behind it. And then simple sometimes, like a nice black t-shirt can speak volumes sometimes. So depends.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I have to agree with Chance. It's like a 50-50, whatever like my vibe is feeling. If I like it, I'll wear it. If not, but at the most time, I'm a very like neutral man, black or white, because no matter what, if I'm in a tracksuit or I'm in a suit, I always look presentable. So yeah, just depending on the logo and branding, but yeah.
I want to take it back now to something you all mentioned, how as a dancer, you can uplift your work or change your work through the clothes you wear, and that you would like dancers to embrace fashion a bit more. And I think similarly, I would like fashion people to embrace dance a little bit more, to loosen up a little bit, because I have to admit I wasn't at the show yesterday. I couldn't make it, but I did hear that from people who were there that the audience remained very stiff. That while there were performers on stage and people dancing all throughout the show, the general atmosphere was very reserved. It was miles away from what I imagine the original context of Saul's work is, which is a constant exchange and movement and people joining. And I'm not suggesting that people should start dancing at a fashion show, but I do think there is a very formulaic aspect of the fashion show that is so hard to break. And I imagine for Saul, it's also really a challenge. How can I bring this world that comes from my community, that was born on the streets, that is so organic, spontaneous, and then plant it into the fashion show, which is extremely rigid, and which is also a context in which people generally feel very socially anxious, if we're honest, and maybe they feel very watched, they don't easily join. So this, I think, is a really big challenge for anyone working in between the space of fashion and performance. I would love to hear if you have any thoughts of that, if you've ever entered fashion spaces where you've recognized this, where there was a certain rigidity. Benjamin, I saw you smile a little bit when I said that. Are you thinking of a specific memory? Or
No, I was just thinking, as it's interesting because you're so much in your world, you're so used to movement. But I think it's sometimes with people who are non-dancers, that I think it's sometimes to do with the relationship to your own body. That if you're not comfortable moving yourself, when you see very strong movers, you can feel even more intimidated to join in. Oftentimes I find, like in a club environment or on a job, when you are open and inviting people in more sort of confrontationally, then they often join. But I guess in a group setting, it can be hard for people to like stand out or join in. Until some people do it, then they join in. But yeah, that juxtaposition, I think it's sometimes as dancers you can feel that there's a voyeuristic aspect of like what you're doing, whereas for us, we are expressing ourselves. It's not always to be viewed, it's to be shared. And I guess this is where Saul is coming from, and it's inviting people in. But yeah, it can be tricky, like those two worlds, like how they meet. But it's no judgment, and I think it's beautiful also to know, like, okay, this is available. But I think it's also seeing, like, this is the natural environment of the clothes, the way they were presented yesterday. But actually, maybe they are actually really meant to be seen in, like, not to be seen, but to be experienced the way Saul imagined them in a club or in a performance or on the street. Because I guess that's even more way he has in mind for people to really wear and experience the clothes and how they make people feel and how they can share that with others. So.
Yeah. No, absolutely. I think you said something really interesting about the body as well, but I first want to hear from the other two, if they recognize, if they've ever been in fashion spaces and recognize this stiffness and kind of the struggle that there is to bring this organic movement to, I see more nods here on my left. You agree as well?
Yeah, no, 100%. I feel like it's just becoming known in the unknown. I feel like a lot of people are in the unknown of like freedom of movement in their body, you know what I'm saying? I feel like throughout the whole like industry and obviously like with like Fashion Week, you know what I'm saying? It's like all these boundaries and all these like set of rulings that you have to be 6 foot, you have to like, you walk down a catwalk and it's like you do a pose and you come back up. And I feel like with Saul Nash, he's like just breaking through these boundaries, you know what I'm saying? Like he's majority of these models are dancers, you know what I'm saying, that have never like been put in a space like that. And I feel like even for them, it's like becoming known in the unknown and getting that environment. So I just feel like we're slowly, you know what I'm saying, getting there. And I feel like as the years go throughout, you know what I'm saying, I feel like people will start like getting more comfortable with it. But I just feel like it's just something really unknown right now. But once it's more in your face, I feel like people become more comfortable and less rigid with it.
Yeah, that's a really good point. Chance, you recognize this?
You would think coming out of a pandemic, people would want to move more, to be honest. I agree with the suggestion that people should dance at fashion shows. Fashion shows should be more interactive. I'm from a place where like the land of people keep their cool on, take your cool off, leave it at the door. Let's have fun. Like this is a celebration. I think that, you know, if we go back to the times of McQueen always did the unconventional stuff and having people more involved. Margiela did too. You know, he would do stuff in like you know, Salvation Armies, and like it just felt like a party. And I feel like we got to get back to that and like celebrate people more and kind of come together, because that's just how I like to party. So yeah, I want people to have a good time, and this is a big introduction for Saul to the world. So I think it's great.
Yeah. Yes, you all mentioned it, which I find so interesting, is to feel free to move, you need to be comfortable in your body. And right now, fashion isn't really helping anyone doing that. The amount of shows I've seen so far where the average model is under 18 and a size 34 for women, then it is very scary to see that we're still at this stage. And it just creates a space where people don't feel comfortable in their bodies. And I think that's something Saul is working with as well, is this identity or this perceived notion of how people see you and who you're allowed to be. And he specifically talks about groups of men, what masculinity should look like, and then as well black men, what a black man is perceived in the street. His work and his visuals are constantly piercing through that. I connected a lot of different ideas in one sentence here, but I think it really all comes together. Maybe we should have a look at the looks as well, because we've been talking for almost half an hour and we haven't looked at the clothes. If that's okay for you, you can all see it?
Yes.
For me, the high school references weren't immediately clear. I had to look at the show notes afterwards to catch and see those in the clothes. So I'm wondering if for our London based panelists, if those references were more clear. Here with the skirt, maybe I picked up on it, but was there for you, when you look at the clothes, this immediate connection to high school, or is it more subtle? Benjamin.
There was one. There was one photo of the model. He had like a shirt and like a backpack on and like nice black trousers. So I say like I could definitely identify with like, yeah, this one here.
Yeah.
Definitely as like a London boy, like that reminds me of like, it's like end of summer holidays are starting, you know what I'm saying? I'm walking in and I'm like, yeah, man, I've finished all my last tests and I'm ready to leave and enjoy my 6 weeks holiday. So yeah.
Yeah, it's really like at the bus stop, the rules are over and I can just let everything go.
Definitely.
Yeah, he looks like he's ready to skip school to buy sneakers. That's the vibe I'm getting. I like it. Yeah. That's I could relate with that. I could relate with that.
Oh yeah. Did you used to wear a uniform in school?
No, I missed the uniform,
Yeah.
but I would always just rock like I rocked a lot of tracksuits actually, which I know is big over here, and yeah, that was definitely the vibe for sure.
Yeah. No, it really feels like we see here a visual representation of what Saul is doing is like taking something uniform, taking something prescribed and just trying to open it up, you know, add zippers wherever he can, and also add openings for other people to enter wherever he can. Maybe I'm getting a bit too metaphorical, but Benjamin, you seem to see what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, I feel like it comes back to this idea of just elevated luxury streetwear, because I feel like I can see the London sort of reference of being in high school or doing your A levels, but then that it's taking that concept, like here with the mesh top or with the cutouts, and in the fabrics, that there is an elevation, and there is maybe, yeah, it feels very positive, and it's very sort of like aspirational. You know, you can be true to you, but then, you know, Saul speaks a language that I feel a lot of Londoners can sort of relate to, and then, yeah, elevate it. So it's a great work and great take on that concept, but then making it his own. And for me, like the little not wires, what do you call it? The little, yeah, the details I feel recognizable from his previous collections, but it's nice seeing him sort of take risks and stepping it up and going further with his language and what we sort of recognize his work as.
Yeah, I'm really tempted to ask you all about your favorite look, but I don't know if we've had enough time to look at them. So maybe if we can have the full lineup and go through it. I really want to know like which one speaks out to you. Is it the more colorful ones or the more detailed ones? And as we have another look through the whole show, I also want to talk about the challenge there is. Benjamin, you used the word uplifting. I know that for Saul, it's really important to keep sustainability in mind when he designs. So the fabrics will be high-tech fabrics that don't pollute the same as the cheaper alternatives. I think it is all produced in North London, if I remember correctly. But this, of course, comes with a very different price tag that maybe most of the members of his community can afford or usually spend money on. And I think this is really a tension at the heart of this uplifted sportswear that hasn't been resolved, that an individual designer can't resolve, but that makes it really difficult. I was wondering if you have any thoughts on that.
I'm sorry, I was looking at the looks. I was gonna say.
Yeah. You want to choose your favorites?
Yeah. Look, actually, look 9 through 11 are crazy. I love the use, that pattern, the use of color, and then I would actually rock the shorts with the long sleeve, like in LA, because the weather permits that. And then the color, this is fire. This is crazy.
If I remember the show notes correctly, it's the, I might be completely mistaken, but it's the Oyster pass to take public transport as a kid that has been warped. I hope I'm speaking about the correct print, but I do think I recognize some parts of it. But it definitely, the prints feel really fiery and energetic and dynamic. They definitely drew my attention too.
And I love red, so I'm partial. So it's really, it's a great use of print too, and the fact that he used the Oyster card is genius. So yeah, it's really cool to see. Nice too. Especially like, when it's kind of chilly out. Sorry, go ahead. No, go ahead. You go ahead.
I'm just moving behind me. I want to hear everyone's favorites as well.
The same as Charts, man. The red long sleeve and the shorts. That's a little bit of me. That's a little bit. I just feel like it's colourful, man. I don't know. It just draws to my attention. It's just something I would definitely wear. Definitely wear.
Ah, good to hear. Benjamin, are you attracted to the same looks?
Yeah, when looking through it.
Can you speak a bit louder, Benjamin? Sorry. I need to hear your answer really clearly. So I need you to speak up a little bit.
Sorry, I have a bad tendency to lower my voice. Yeah, I think looking through the looks, I was reminded of a fashion film that Saul Nash did, which was sort of, if I remember correctly, like two groups of guys sort of emerging together. And then there was a kiss between two guys towards the end. And when I saw look 11, I thought that was interesting because, or I was drawn to this one because it's quite masculine, like the clothing. But then I think this is an interesting take on like the subtleties of the play on gender and how that's coming through. And yeah, I feel like the clothes are speaking on, like this look is speaking on sort of the nuances, I guess, of what it is to be or to identify outside of the binary, but what that is exactly this one. Yeah, and I know Taboo is a commentator and MC in the ballroom scene. So I think it's really great just thinking of this casting and thinking of this conversation and sort of what is streetwear in the context of the LGBT community as well. So I feel like it's really, his work is sort of speaking on so many different levels, including like sustainability, as you mentioned.
Yeah, Benjamin, you make a really good point to bring this up, because I think especially in the fashion space that Saul is entering, it can be hyper masculine, and there can exist, especially online, a lot of homophobia. You know, the streetwear, sneaker brand kind of spaces, they can be very aggressive. So for a designer to make the choice to have two men kiss in a campaign video, or to show pieces that are more gender neutral, gender fluid, that's a conscious decision, and that is very brave as well. And I wanted to ask the opinion of the other panelists as well on, when you see these garments, do they feel, I don't like to say more feminine, but do you sense the same aspect? I'm going to reframe my question completely, yeah? Because indeed, in his visual communication, there is a lot of softness. There is this questioning of masculinity, and there is a turning and a questioning of gender. But I wonder if for you guys in the individual pieces and the looks as you see them pass as well, if you have that same feeling, because I think this is the power of Saul Nash, is that he can kind of do it in a very subtle way, that it still feels open to a large audience.
Yeah, I think the word for me is fluid. It feels very fluid. I think a lot of pieces in fashion today, a man or a woman could wear. You know, I'm a straight man, but I support LGBT, and like I'll wear pink. Like I don't look, it's like, I think it's great that we are in a time where it's more fluid. I think that's an issue, that's been in fashion for a long time, and now it's great to see it be liberated. And it's like you don't. Especially as a man, it's like, because I know when men go shopping, they used to like be afraid to wear certain pieces.
Yeah,
it's great to see it now, where it's like, yeah, this looks great regardless, and a woman can wear it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. I recognize like men making sure they're not in the women's department, verifying multiple times. And I think as a designer trying to break that is not easy to navigate.
Yeah.
Kaya, do you recognize this as well when you see the clothes? Does it feel very different in its approach to masculinity, or is it in a more subtle sense for you?
Yeah, I just feel like it's very subtle. I feel like, as I said again, it's very easygoing, it's very simple and effective, you know what I'm saying? And I feel like, yeah, like just for me, it's not too much in your face. And as like some people, like what you saying with the homophobia and stuff like that, like I feel like it's like a good entrance to like show people like raw, like, you know what I'm saying, like even though like you may be like masculinity, like you can also tap into your feminine side, and it's okay to do that. And I feel like this is like a good representation of that, as it's like a good entrance, you know what I'm saying, for someone who's kind of like very taboo on like that kind of thing, is a good entrance for them to like be open to this realm as well. So I definitely feel like it's a great entrance.
Yeah, that's a great point. I feel like in conclusion of our talk together today, overall, we just feel super excited about Saul Nash, right?
Yeah.
I think, yeah, it's bringing energy to fashion that I think is desperately needed. And I kind of want to conclude on maybe Saul Nash, you know, make your next show a dance class. You know, force some of the stiff fashion people to move. Maybe we can push towards that. Would you agree? Can we make this happen?
Yes.
Yeah.
I think it should be an interactive dance show. That's what it should be.
Yeah. Okay. Then I would like to thank all my panelists for joining me today. It was really insightful to have this different perspective on fashion. I'm really happy I got to speak to you today. And I want to thank the viewers for watching. And I also have to tell you to like and to comment if you're watching on YouTube, because then the show studio team can continue doing the amazing work they do of highlighting these designers. So thank you all for watching. Go like and comment, and see you all soon. Bye.
Thanks for having us.
Peace.